one of the things that I've experienced here, as I mentioned, is just actually feeling the Holy Spirit at work in a way that I never have in any other job.
We come to you every week from the Deacon Jim Wall Studio in the Catholic Pastoral Center of the Diocese of Nashville. Today's edition of Around the Diocese is being presented by Ascension Healthcare. My name's Ron Fleitz, and with us today is Judy Orr, who's the Executive Director of Catholic Charities here at the Diocese of Nashville. And Judy, welcome.
Thank you so much, Ron, for inviting me.
You just came off a very successful Festival of Hope, of which both my wife Valerie and I were delighted to be at again. It's always such a nice, and I will call it a festivity, because it was very festive this year. The last year has been a challenge, right, Judy?
Oh, gosh, yes. Well, many people know that the Catholic Charities has had a refugee resettlement program for many years, and that means that we are a federal contractor and we have to abide by, all the legalities. Mm-hmm. And so on January 20th, a year ago, when President Trump was inaugurated, as many know, he signed a number of executive orders that day. And while we had anticipated that the program might be curtailed or shortened, with a stroke of a pen, he ended the funding and the arrivals right on day one. And so for us, that meant a potential loss of $500,000 that was earmarked in that contract to help new arrivals.
Yeah.
So when they're admitted to the United States in that program, they've gone through, you can't even imagine the vetting process they go through, but about 4 different agencies, including the State Department. So that model is one where we have a number of people that walk alongside them to be sure they can very quickly get assimilated. And that, a number of dollars is earmarked for each family. It's not that much, but, we had 133 families we were working with, 350 people total. And the potential that we would suddenly not have that money. Mm-hmm. And we were told, legally you don't have any obligation to help them. Of course, you cannot leave these people on their own when they don't know the language, they don't have jobs yet, they don't have any way to make, support themselves. Mm-hmm. But thank goodness the community came through. We immediately made an appeal, but we had major foundations in the city as well as individuals who were very generous, and we were able to recover about $350,000 of that.
Really?
And then over time, some of that money did flow in. So we were able to offset the remainder with monies through the USCCB and even the federal government program. But we had to really scramble and be nimble and kind of reassign people to different parts of that process in order to support the people and make sure they could get jobs to take care of their families.
Because that affected you employment-wise, too, didn't it?
Oh, gosh, yes. Almost immediately, we had to lay off about 10 people in that program. And by the end of September, when the last of that funding stopped, we lost about 70 employees, and many of them incredibly dedicated, compassionate. They had worked for years in that program, some of whom were actually refugees themselves who had come back to work for us. And, of note, when I came to work here 7 years ago, I thought everybody was Catholic here.
Yeah, right.
And it turns out that there are people of many different faith traditions who work in Catholic Charities, not only this one locally, but across the country. It's very, very typical. And I also, at the time, I wondered, how could people who are not Catholic, embrace our mission?
Exactly. Yeah, I would think the same thing.
But it turns out that Catholic Charities is one of the very best organizations you can work for. If you are a strongly driven spiritual person and you want to help people, this is just a great place to work. And when you self-select into this work, let me tell you, I have worked at 7 really great organizations in this city. And the people who work at Catholic Charities are like no other workforce I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we know several of them personally ourselves, and they're as wonderful at church as they are here, and it's just rewarding.
Yeah, well, one of the things I said at the Festival of Hope is that not until now could I say that I see the face of God in my staff members, and I do that every day.
That is really rewarding. My gosh, yeah, but it's been a challenge for you. I mean, you were so vibrant and everything last year at the Festival of Hope. And I think there was a sense of things going on in the room, but those of us who were not, close enough to it, we heard about the funding here and there, but we didn't know how it was going to really affect. And it seemed like it was just a couple days after the Festival of Hope last year is when all of a sudden things changed.
That's right. And so the festival was a little bit later last year, it was late April. And so it was in May that we announced that we would end the program forever, or at least, for the short run, as opposed to trying to stay alive. There are a couple of other, when I say end the program, it was just the resettlement program because we have many other programs. But there are a couple of other agencies in Nashville that do the same type of work. They're dedicated only to that type of work. So we, I often described it as it's kind of the reverse of the big box consolidation. As we were the big box, and we ceded the work to other smaller mom and pops, so to speak.
I see.
And so they continue to do that work for people who are eligible to receive benefits longer term. But that did mean that some of those wonderful employees, they had a very long runway because we told them in May we would end the program. But, they had until the end of September to work.
But still, knowing that hanging over their head, and I'm sure a lot of them hung in there for you and such. But
what was so incredibly inspiring is that we had a handful of people who said, let's around August, we were saying, have you found a job yet? Because we want to be sure you're going to be employed. And they were like, come what may, we are hanging on to the bitter end because we believe in this work so strongly. And we were kind of shocked by that, but that's how strongly they were committed to the program.
No wonder you see the face of God in them. It's that is just really amazing. Yeah. So now that funding affected your refugee programs and such. Did it affect anything else that you work at on a regular basis?
In a way, yes, because it was such a large program, and like many federal programs or grants, there's a certain amount of revenue that we receive for the back office, so to speak, so overhead revenue. So losing that meant that even programs beyond resettlement lost some funding, and that was significant. So besides the resettlement program, we had to really tighten our belt. And the last time I remember doing that was when I worked at Vanderbilt University in 2008. And the idea of tightening a belt was, like when you do work like this, and it is mostly a service, that the only way to save money is by eliminating positions. It was extremely painful process of poring over a list of employees and thinking, who can we let go?
Right, especially when you value almost all of them.
And this is a very lean organization. I have worked, as I said, at Vanderbilt University where, the resources are very, rich and deep, so to speak, and, and also in a corporate environment. And I had never worked somewhere where we were operating on such a shoestring budget and having to, not have some of the most basic things. IT support was a thing that I was shocked that we didn't really have. So when you have to sit there and think, can we do without a few more IT people? When in fact, the contracts require so much data that you can't not have a rich IT department. So we had to make some very painful sacrifices and reassign some of that work to others, including, my own self taking on more communication and development activities.
Yeah, and that really, when you think about it, there's so much that you're responsible for in the first place, and then to take over another spot over here, that how you do it, I don't know. It's challenging.
Well, you may remember last year I said, pray for our agency.
Yes, I do remember that very vividly.
And I believe that everyone did, and that is how we were able to raise so much money to offset those losses.
So with I don't know if everybody really realizes all the stuff that you guys are into, but I know that you're into disaster relief, you're in emergency assistance, which is something that I think a lot of people don't realize, that my wife Valerie is involved with Ladies of Charity, and they have emergency assistance too. But, you don't think about where do I go and such.
Right. Well, the thing I've learned working here is that the scale of our operation is, people don't realize. And so because of the expertise and the training, even, people having master's degree that work for us, trained in disaster relief, that we are a go-to in Middle Tennessee when there is a disaster. And so, of course, the most recent one being the ice storm.
The ice storm, my gosh.
Many of your listeners, I'm sure, know that there was a fund created with City of Nashville and United Way and Community Foundation and others who several $1 million, and we were among the first 4, and we didn't reach out necessarily. They reached out to us because they know how quickly we can pivot and put together a team and how great our systems are in terms of vetting people for assistance, because it's possible across the city that you could go to several different agencies and apply for help, just like you're mentioning. With this system, it's a shared database across all of the large agencies so that when someone comes to us for help, we go to the database to see if they've already applied somewhere else to ensure.
I wondered how that all worked. Yeah.
So it ensures that there's not, a duplication of services, and that everybody who's eligible can, in fact, get some service.
That's interesting. Once again, it's one of those things you don't think of. I know being up at the front door every once in a while, people coming by. I went to Catholic Charities, and they tell them go around at door 6 or something. Yeah, it's because you got a whole plaza back there. I guess.
Exactly, right. And of course, we have a counseling department. I mean, a lot of people prefer to have counseling one-on-one with someone who's affiliated with the Catholic Church. So that's an important program. And of course, the wonderful thing we've got over the last 6 years we've developed is our county expansion program. So we actually have a presence across the whole 38 county, diocese territory, with offices in Tullahoma, Cookeville, Columbia, and Clarksville.
Which is really nice because all of us live in Nashville, northern Middle Tennessee. You think, well, how do they get down there? But, you guys go right to them.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing, too, is that we have wonderful partnerships with the parishes in those areas. And, they refer people to us. Many of the churches have benevolent activities, and to a degree they might be able to help their parishioners or provide some little bit of support. But they know of Catholic Charities and the fact that we are, in a position where we receive some state monies to help new and expectant mothers, for instance, and they send them to us, and vice versa. When you need spiritual care, a spiritual home, we send them to the local Catholic churches.
Yeah, and you have a family resource center. I know. I think I've had them on the radio before, and it was very interesting to learn all about all that they do.
Yeah. So a family resource center, when I say we have offices, it's not just an office. A family resource center is intended to be a kind of one-stop shop, and we have co-locating partners. So we have other people in the building with us. Tullahoma is a great example where there's some local city services that are in there. Different agencies provide support. But it's really a resource center, not only for services, but in some cases, a community gathering place where people who want to, form a new organization or something might come or find some kind of support, even for a disaster. But we make available those rooms where people can meet. So in North Nashville, we have the C.E. Magruder Family Resource Center. We are also inside of Costa.
It's amazing what they do there.
Yes, it's an old surplus metro school that we're allowed to use at no cost. And we have, about 15 co-locating partners, and that's also where our job training programs are, which many people don't know about. So all of our 8 centers or 7 centers we consider a family resource center, and they all are very different according to what the community needs are.
Yeah. Plus, you offer, and a lot of people don't know this, that you offer meals out in the community, and you'd be surprised where some of those meals are.
Yeah. Every one of our locations has a food pantry, and we have freezers and refrigerators that have been donated or purchased with donated funds. And when people say, what can I do for Catholic Charities? Well, write a check. But if you can't do that,
Sure.
Get your service group, whatever it might be, ladies club or whatever, your work group, to do a food drive or a baby item drive and bring them to our family resource centers. Because believe me, we need constant replenishment of those, of those resources.
And of course, you can find out a lot about this going to the Diocese of Nashville website. and go to Catholic Charities on there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information on
Yeah,
there.
and of
for you.
course we have our own website, and hopefully it's
That's
easy.
right, you do.
Yeah, easy to navigate, and Catholic. It's cctenn.org.
Yep, that's
And it'll be right in your face how to volunteer, how to donate.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it will. And in case you just joined us, this is Around the Diocese on Nashville Catholic Radio. Our guest today is Judy Orr, the Executive Director of Catholic Charities. And we're talking about the Festival of Hope, which they just had here, what have been 2-3 weeks ago, I guess it was.
Yeah.
And just a thoroughly enjoyable morning. I can't begin to tell you how much we enjoyed getting up to go to this breakfast. It was something. It doesn't take your day. That's the good thing. I think we are out the door at 8:40.
Yeah.
But we didn't go quite out the door because we were out talking with people and such. Because you have a lot of displays about the different things that Catholic Charities does.
Yeah. Well, somebody, I inherited the breakfast idea when I came to work here in 2019. The irony is that the following year, the first of my festivals of hope, so to speak, we were in a pandemic and we had to go virtual. So for 2 years in a row, we were virtual. And during the pandemic, the diocese remodeled some of their beautiful rooms out here, making it possible for us to have the Festival of Hope here in, what was that, 2022, I guess it was. So, or 23 was our first year out here at the diocese. So when I called it a Festival of Hope, I actually had some people say, how can you have a festival in the morning? I said, well, first of all, I want to celebrate hope.
Right.
And that is a festival.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we don't have a gala at night, you don't have to dress up and come out and be out in the nighttime and all that. But it also meant, a few teased me and said, well, if you really want to earn money, raise money, you got to have a nighttime event where there's some wine with the meal. And I said, well, we will have a faux mimosa. How about that? So we are actually using non-alcoholic champagne to help us celebrate hope, which is the very best gift you can give anyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was just so neat. And of course, the Father Ryan drum corps was out front, and
JP2.
The choir from JP2. Play more, sing more. Gosh, they were just wonderful.
Yeah, well, we love being able to tap these young people in our community in the two Catholic diocesan schools that are local here and have the ability to come at the crack of dawn.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is, of course, the kids love being away from the school for any excuse. Even though
got any other things we could do?
And then the other fun thing is, we did our breakfast is a buffet breakfast, and we packed to-go boxes.
Good as well.
Thank you. We packed to-go boxes for all those kids so that they could eat their breakfast driving back to their schools.
That was neat, but it was just so cool. Rory Johnston, you had him back again.
Yeah. Rory raised in Catholic in a big Catholic family up north somewhere, and he loves to tell stories about that experience. So we love having him.
I'll have him on Faith and Business. That's good. I did not realize he was Catholic.
Yeah, I can't swear to how Catholic he is now. Yeah. You know how that is in the world of Catholics.
I understand completely. So were you satisfied with what the Festival of Hope drew for you this year?
Yeah, well, we were thrilled, first of all, that we had a larger amount of sponsorships this year than in the past, and we hope to grow that. But we also were pleased to have a couple of anonymous donors who were willing to do a matching gift, and that always motivates givers to, if they're wondering, should I give today or next week, they gave a day of. So right now we have exceeded our goal, and we've got a couple of more people who have made pledges, and we hope we can continue to count some money towards the Festival of Hope. I'm still hoping to raise about $20,000 to really, hit a big number, a big magic number for us. And but meanwhile, we're actually working on a Lent campaign as well. So many people have a tradition of giving to Catholic Charities during Lent, almsgiving and all that.
Right.
And so every day when I go to pick up some printing from our shared printer, I notice a pile of envelopes in our donation area, and I'm thrilled to see the support we're getting, because most of that goes to our feeding programs.
That's great. That is absolutely great. Last few minutes we have here. We got about 5 minutes left, Judy, and I want you to be able to take some time to share anything that you'd like to share, since it's sort of a swan song here for you, as you'll be handing the reins of Catholic Charities over at some particular point in time this year. Being the devoted person you are, you said, I'm not leaving specifically. I want to make sure somebody is going to take my place here, and everything's going to continue to work well.
Yeah, well, people who know me know I'm very passionate about whatever I do, and I do love this agency. I knew next to nothing about it when I came to work here, and I have just had my mind open so much about the great work that we do, and it complements what's done in the parishes.
Mm-hmm.
But as we've talked about, we can do something on a larger scale. I mean, we're able to receive grant money from various organizations that wouldn't necessarily go, say, to parish ministries. But I think, one of the things that I've experienced here, as I mentioned, is just actually feeling the Holy Spirit at work in a way that I never have in any other job. And so, for instance, when I think about past work, I didn't necessarily hang a picture of, the Blessed Mother on my desk or whatever.
Yeah.
And here you can do all of that.
You can do that here.
Where I worked in organizations where we called it a holiday party, now you can call it a Christmas party. And I really love working where my faith can be a part of my work. And so when I came to work here, I thought, I'll work to, I'm actually, I graduated from Father Ryan in 1975, but I thought this is kind of what we call an encore career. I actually went back and got a master's degree late in my career and thought I'm going to shift gears, and came here. I thought, well, I might work till I'm 70, but then, what the Holy Spirit made happen is that my middle son brought his beautiful wife back to Nashville. And while I thought they were never going to have children, a year ago in April, right about the time we had Festival of Hope, beautiful little Andrea was born. And with that, I thought, I got to get out of here because I got some grandmothering to do.
Yeah.
And as passionate as I am about Catholic Charities, I am more passionate about being a grandmother and a mother, and a wife.
Yeah.
And so, but when we knew that the program was going to end last year, I really said to the board, I want to see through the transition of that program, in the sort of downsizing of our programs overall. We've actually consolidated into about half as many square feet as we used to have out here at CPC. But I wanted to be sure everything was going to settle down and we would have roots. And so I am so gratified to see how my staff has grown and adapted and really settled into sort of the new normal of Catholic Charities. And we have so many great opportunities, so much financial support, volunteer support, that, I can let go of this baby too, that I love so much. And
you've done a remarkable job.
Well, thank you. But it only happened because I have an amazing team, so committed and dedicated to helping our neighbor.
It, when you walk in the building here, if you ever come over to the Catholic Pastoral Center, you can feel the sense of, first of all, the Lord. That's the beautiful thing. But if you walk up near Catholic Charities, you feel a whole different aura, I guess I would say, because it's you can't turn a different direction and not hear somebody helping somebody. And that's just so rewarding.
Well, one of the things I love and will miss is the actual sound of babies crying because mamas show up to get some help and they got a baby or two with them. And my grandmother, antennas jump up and I have to go running down the hall to see if I can help. But it is really a pure joy and a blessing beyond words to be able to walk this walk and to do the work that God has asked us to do. To help our neighbor.
And even though you had to let some people go because of what we were speaking of before, the fact is, and that's never an easy job at all, you hold your head high, and you should, because you've done so much. I mean, it's like Catholic Charities and Judy Orr are parallel here. It just so much energy that you put into this organization.
Well, it is very worthy of that love and dedication. And, really deserves the support of the community. So many people don't know about it. And as a former, communication professional, I figure that's because most of the people working here, they got their nose to the grindstone doing it, and they don't think about broadcasting what they do. And so I have tried to fill in that gap and make sure people know who they are and what they're doing.
And over the course of time, we're trying to grab different parts of the area up there to have them come on and share what all they do to get a little bit more specific. Yeah. But Judy, I mean, what can we say? I mean, you've done a wonderful job. And only in, 7 years, 6 years?
7 years in May. Mm-hmm. And we have certainly had our trials and tribulations between the pandemic, the disasters, which I had never had any exposure to, and then, of course, these dramatic changes in public funding. But in spite of it all, I sometimes say, if this job doesn't get me to heaven, I don't know what will.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to end it. That's for sure. God bless you, Judy Orr, the Executive Director of Catholic Charities of Nashville at the Diocese of Nashville. Thanks a million for all you've done.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, folks, for listening to our program today. Around the Diocese is locally produced, made possible through the generous donations of Ascension Healthcare, our listeners, sponsors, and the Diocese of Nashville. Broadcast worldwide via the Nashville Catholic Radio app, streaming at nashvillecr.com, and locally available at 100.5 FM. We're shining the light of our Catholic faith from Nashville Catholic Radio. Until we meet again, my sincere thanks for listening. God bless you, and have a great faith journey.